everybody? Tonight we're going to be going over the 6.7 engine build that's going in my 05 that's behind me. The main goal is I like big single turbos, as I've said before, and I want to be able to tow with them. So with the 6.7, I'm hoping to have the best of both worlds. We're shooting for a goal of about 1,000 horsepower, maybe 1,100. The weak point is definitely going to be, I'd say probably the rods, depending on how the timing is. And like I said, this isn't a race truck. I would like to race it in like the 770, 1190 index, but this is a truck that I literally go get groceries with. My family takes, I tow with it, a race truck, and yeah, we'll see. So just a little bit, everybody, at least on Instagram, was kind of asking what I put in engines. So just keep in mind, this is a 1,000 horsepower-ish 6.7. That's going in my 05 with a single turbo, probably a S472. So yeah, we'll get right into it. First things first, I do have the engine machine and stuff, and I'll cover that. For bearings, we went with the Moly Cleveite P series. This is just a factory bearing. Didn't see the money really, or see the need to spend the money on the bigger bearings. We're not going to be spinning that much RPM. This isn't a competition engine. You know, this is something that I would like to actually drive. So we went with the Cleveite bearing series for mains and rods. And then I went with a Moly cam bearing. Put the new one in at the machine shop. One thing I do always upgrade, especially on like 12 valves, is I get the bronze cam retainer. A little stronger than your factory one, and a lot of times on engines that have high mileage, these do wear out. These are a replaceable item, these are a wearable item, and you need to keep track of that for the cam thrust. On common rails with straight cut gears, it's not as big of an issue. With the helical cut that you'll find in your VP44 and 12 valves, the cam does thrust, and if you doubt that at all, go check out Power Driven Diesel's YouTube channel and you can see all the cam thrust and what they've done to try and compensate for that. So like I said, bronze cam retainer. For rods, we went with the Hazley Machine shot peen polished 12 valve rods with their L19 rod bolts. I talked about these in the really long, hour-long video. If you watched it all, if you did, congratulations. Lesson learned. I'll keep them a little shorter. But these have the L19 rod bolts in them, much stouter, and these rods look amazing. Not that expensive to have them done. For cores, you can turn in any 12 valve or VP44 24 valve rod. They're all the same rod. That is straight from Patty Hazley, Van Hazley, and Pat Hazley. They will take either one. They are the same rod. So if you do have a 24 valve engine that was a VP44, the rods in here are the same as 12 valve rods. There are 4 that I know of. There might be more. They're usually stamped Brazil, USA, England, or Mexico. These are USA rods. Pretty good, you ask me. I mean, I'm all about America. Very patriotic. You guys will catch that if you watch long enough. But glad to have USA rods in here. So moving right along. For gaskets, I always use the speedy sleeves on engines that have been together for a while. That there's a little groove on the crank that will wear in over time, and usually if you can catch your fingernail on it, it's generally a good cause to put the speedy sleeves in on an engine that I'm putting in a truck that I want it to last a while. I'm just going to go ahead and do this anyway. I just find that, you know, it's not that much more. I think they're like $20 or $30 more, but I got the rear main sleeve and rear main seal, the front crank sleeve, and the front crank seal. They call them speedy sleeves. And they usually come together. I've never seen them sold without it. Alright, continuing on with the bottom end, we have ARP 12mm main studs. That's just what comes in the block. What I like about these is they didn't require any machine work, kind of kept the cost lower. And anytime you do main studs, I always recommend at least having your line bore checked. In my case, I got it honed. We'll go over that, but the ARP kit, and it comes with the girdle bolts as well. Those factory, they call them girdles or block stiffeners. I'm gonna use that, mine as well. I got it anyway. We're gonna use the stock 6.7 dampener. The one that came on the engine isn't in bad shape, so I just bought some ARP dampener bolts. I like to use ARP on anything that's rotating, to be honest. Flex plates, dampeners, main studs, head studs. They make a really great product, and you can always reuse them. I'm kind of out of stock, so to speak, on these. These will go. I actually took the set out of my race truck to put in my 05 when I got the transmission replaced, so these are going to go back in my race truck where they belong. For pistons, unfortunately my block had to go 20 over, so I've been told by a lot of people that it'll still be extremely strong, so I hope so. We are 20 over, which technically makes this a 6.8, and since this is my first stab at a performance somewhat 6.7 engine, I think we'll call this Horsetorques Diesel 6.8 Comp 1. I don't know. Mull on that, let me see. So start with new pistons, and I ordered rings because the company I bought these from said they didn't come with rings, but there are 3 rings on here, so that'll be really nice. We'll have to give Pure Diesel Power a call tomorrow. Oh, and they came with new wrist pins, and the hardware's in the box here. I just didn't want to fish it out. Molly pistons, I mean, they're great, kind of affordable. I either go with Molly or Interstate McBee. On the 6.7, for some reason, the Interstate McBees were a little more expensive than Molly. And there's a distribution center in California, so I get a lot of Molly stuff for my builds. Hopefully these hold up. After talking to a lot of companies, I'm gonna backtrack here. After talking to a lot of companies, the factory 6.7 bowl is narrower than the QSB bowl, and I know a lot of people use QSB bowls in competition engines and stuff like that. The reason why I didn't is the QSB bowl was designed in an engine that spun at a constant RPM in marine applications or in like gensets, stuff like that, and the bowl is much larger, but the heat does not fluctuate as much. On an engine like this that's going to be on the street, as they machine that bowl out, the sides of this piston become narrower, and I was worried about heat actually starting to deform the top of the piston. I don't have any scientific data to prove that, but just for the peace of mind, and not to mention, anytime you open up the bowl, you are going to change the injector spray timing, stuff like that. When we get into my 12 valve, I'll go more into depth on injector spray pattern and bowl design, but basically these are meant for a 144 degree spray pattern. And to compensate that with my 5.9 injectors, because this is still a 5.9 head, I went with the 0304 spray pattern. So I've been informed by my tuner that it's going to work great. It's only 1 degree difference, so we should have a pretty stout unit on our hands. Moving right along, for the valve train, we have a set of Hamilton, just their regular tappets. On my race truck, we actually resurfaced some old tappets, but it technically was a used cam with used tappets. I would not recommend that if you have a new cam with used tappets. I know people have made it work, and I know people that have had cams eat through the block. For 140 bucks, 150 bucks, whatever I pay for these, it's just cheap insurance. Since I had the cylinder head and the block machined, piston to valve clearance became a little bit of a worry for me. So I went ahead and I just dropped down the cam size. This is a 178/208 cam. After talking to Hamilton, this is what they recommended. Interference shouldn't be a problem. And the other thing to keep in mind is as you machine down the block and the head, the push rod length has now remained the same. Now keep in mind, we're talking, my block got decked 4,000s, my cylinder head got decked I think 5,000s, so you're talking about 9,000s. However, in the grand scheme of things, as you continue to make that distance shorter, your push rods are staying the same. So something to keep in mind, especially when you're adjusting rockers and stuff like that. Something always to be mindful of. Not that it's a huge issue, but just kind of food for thought. These are the random things that pop in my head as I'm talking. So that will be replacing the factory cam. This weekend I'll probably go get this, the cam gears flip-flopped on a press. Obviously for the cylinder head, we have 625 head studs and a 6.7 Cummins factory MLS head gasket like I showed you guys in the video last night. That is what we're going with due to it being a single turbo street truck. I just really didn't want to deal with fire rings. For the fueling aspects, I got a hold of Brian at Dynamite Diesel. They took the 6.7 tubes that came with this engine when I bought it. I bought it off Craigslist. It came with a bunch of stuff, paid a really good price. Another thing to keep in mind on budgets like Craigslist, OfferUp, Let It Go, Comp D, all these websites and apps have people trying to get rid of stuff, and you never know. So what they did was they went ahead and they machined the edge guard filters out, and they obviously cleaned them up, put new O-rings on them. Because I have a 5.9 fuel rail, it is much smaller than a 6.7 fuel rail. I didn't want to deal with the 6.7 rail, it's just not in the budget right now. By opening up these connecting tubes, essentially there's more volume in here, which kind of increases the plenum size. Almost think of your fuel rail. So your fuel rail kind of acts like a plenum. Think of it like your fuel rail being the intake plenum, and these would be runners. They still add volume. I hope that's enough. If it's not, I will go ahead and try and find a good 6.7 rail. But for right now, it's a 5.9 rail with a 6.7 pressure sensor. By doing the 6.7 pressure sensor, we're able to rescale the ECM's table and basically produce more rail pressure while kind of tricking the ECM thinking that it's the same pressure. I'm not a tuner. I'm never going to claim to be one. So if you have any questions, I would recommend Gordon Lindemood at Innovative Diesel. He takes good care of me. But anyway, for the injectors, we went with the Dynamite Diesel 0304 5.9. The reason why we went the 0304 is for the 6.7 piston bull design. It is not the narrow piston. 04.5 to 07 used a, I want to say, 124 degree spray pattern, and with that spray pattern we will definitely have some issues with the piston. These are, I want to say, 55 liter per minute injectors, which translates to 150% over. Much more injector than I need. However, I am in the school of thought of larger injectors with a smaller duration. The reason for that is I feel like you get a better fuel atomization because it's on off. It's much faster. I don't know the specifics, but let's just say 100% over fuel injector, you have to hold open for 2400 microseconds, right? Now you scale that back, you have 150% over injector, so it flows half, 100 or 50% more. So that would roughly leave you about 1800 microseconds of duration. With that duration, you're going to get a much better burn because the fuel's coming in much quicker. I will also kind of be covering it. It's almost the same concept as a 12mm P pump versus a 13mm P pump. We'll go over that. Like I said, this 12 valve engine is going to be coming apart. I know a lot of you guys like the 12 valve stuff. We will be getting into that, but this is the next project at hand. So bear with me. I appreciate it. Fueling. I had to send a 6.7 pump out to somebody, so I sent it in the Dynamite box. But trust me, there is a Dynamite Diesel 12mm stroker CP3 pump, 6.7 based, supposed to really help out. I went with a single for the sheer fact of I always find it annoying with a dual fueler kit, that belt, if you do breakdown stuff like that belt's not readily available, at least not that I know of, and it's always kind of scared me to do like cross-country trips, stuff like that, not being able to get the parts. The fact that this is a 6.7 pump, it'll bolt right in. Brian at Dynamite was kind enough to send me this to adapt to my return line, and he sent me a adapting high pressure line that goes from a 6.7 to a 5.9 rail. I'm not sure if they include that in all the kits, but I did ask for it, so I'm assuming I must have paid for it due to the fact that my rail is still a 5.9. And then with the 6.7 pumps, the feed line coming into the pump is straight back versus the 5.9 that's up on the corner. So this thing should make lots of horse torques, which translates to whistle pounds, which hopefully translates to a really fun tow truck. Alright, and then for push rods, I actually came up on a used set of trend push rods. Normally I use all the power drivens. These came into me for an engine that I built for a guy. He didn't want them anymore, and sold them to me for a really good price. So I'll give these a try. It's your typical stage 1 push rod, you know. Got the nice design, should hold up. The thing with push rods is factory ones deflect. That means they actually kind of bow, and you actually lose duration of the cam and you lose lift of the cam. So push rods, especially once you go to higher RPM and a stiffer valve spring, you're gonna have problems. In this box here we have Hamilton 103-pound valve springs. I love Hamilton springs. I use them on pretty much everything that I own. I think they make a great spring. I recently saw that Manton came out with a new spring. I don't like being the one to test out new stuff. I'm sure that they work great. Trevor over there is a great guy, but these were much cheaper, and so I'm going to use 103 pounders. Other than that, we have just kind of the basic gaskets, stuff like that. On this engine, I'm going to keep it covered, so don't be alarmed. And yes, I do wear cowgirl boots, I suppose. Whatever, you can laugh at me if you want. So in this bag here is the 6.7 engine. What we did go ahead and do is we had the deck surfaced to make it nice and straight, like we talked about last night. We had the main caps, which are over here. We had these machined. Basically what they do to machine it's called line honing. That's where they take these dowels out, they machine 3/1000ths off the cap, put it in, and run a hone through it to true up all the main bearings. This is really important when you're spinning RPM, and it kind of addresses some of the internal balancing. So we have 6.7 12 valve rods that came balanced from Hazley. We have these caps that got machined. We obviously got a bore 20 over, and we got a new cam bushing pressed in the front. And back here, right over here, I don't really want to take the covers off. It's kind of humid tonight and I don't want rust, but that is a machine 6.7 crank that was polished. Sorry, not machined. A polished 6.7 crank, and we had it balanced as well. Just wanted to clean up the journals. Surface finish on the cranks are pretty important, and something that I definitely feel is worth the money. Now, I was pretty excited. This is kind of a race truck update. We did get this 12 bolt DPC flex plate from Phil. I've been told this is probably the first batch, so pretty excited that he let me go ahead and purchase this as part of the UCC truck. And then we have our 12 bolt V10 stall with a fat input shaft for the UCC truck. Really excited to see those. And other than that, pretty much anything else we're gonna swap from the 5.9 that runs. We will be running the 6.7 oil cooler that came in this, and that's about it. Because this block was an 09, it's pretty much a straight swap. The oil pans will swap. Obviously I'll use the pickup tube from this engine. After we machined it, I obviously cleaned it. I use like a WD-40 spray with the saran wrap to keep it clean and safe while I'm waiting to put it together. The last thing you want to do is spend all that money at the machine shop and have it rusted out. I feel like I'm forgetting stuff, but oh yes, the manifold, I'm kind of torn. I might just get the ATS because it's pretty cheap, and then a 472 87 90 is the goal. For right now, I'm probably gonna break it in with that 67 millimeter HE 351 I got from Zach Taylor at North American Turbo, but and that also has a DPS manifold. The only part that isn't here yet is the fleece coolant bypass. I ordered that, but it comes from XDP's warehouse in New Jersey, so it takes a while to get here. Yeah, I mean, if you guys have any questions about kind of what we did, obviously we'll be using the 5.9 head that's in that truck with the 5.9 valve covers and stuff like that. And all the 5.9 electronics is going to swap over. The ECM, the harnesses, the oil pressure sensor, the map sensor, the rail pressure sensor, all that stuff that's in good working order on that truck is going to transfer over. And yeah, hopefully that kind of gives you guys like a glimpse into what I feel goes in a 1,000 horsepower truck. A lot of people like to put billet rods and stuff in these 6.7 blocks. Wow, 6.7 blocks. Just didn't feel like it was necessary. With it being a single turbo, we're going to tune out a lot of the torque to make it last at the higher tunes. My goal is to have my first tune kind of be my primary tune, somewhere around 500 horsepower, maybe 600. So the rod shouldn't be an issue. And we're going to try and spin this thing to 5,000 RPM. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't, with a balanced bottom end, fresh machine work. And we will go over, in this series I'll kind of do like a little mini series, so to speak, of assembling this, kind of what I do when I put together an engine. Lots of people have made the video, and I'll just kind of breeze through it. Things I think that people mess up or to mention, we'll go over that. And hopefully getting the transmission now put back in the race truck. We were waiting on the converter and the flex plate. It is now here. I need to start that truck. I haven't heard it run in about a month, and it's the only other thing we're gonna do is we are gonna put some street tires back on the 05. I had the Toyo AT Extremes. I don't know what I was thinking, but I don't off-road, so I'm not even sure why they're on there. We're gonna go back to my tried and true 305 5020 Nitto 420s. This is a street truck. I'm tired of the tire noise. Maybe that makes me a woman. I don't really care. I like to have conversations in my truck. I like to hear the radio, and I really don't like replacing ball joints and hubs because of heavy, oversized tires. Other than that, this weekend we did install an AirDog 200 adjustable pressure 4G pump. I'm newly converted. I used to be fast 100%, and I like it. I just wish AirDog would have change their fitting design. I find it extremely annoying trying to get their push lock hose on their plastic fittings. But yeah, I mean, you know, I wish I could get a combination of both pumps, because there was some stuff about the Air Dog I really liked, some stuff about the Fast that I really like. It would just be great if we could make like a Fast Dog or something. I don't know. Maybe I'll be that brainchild. Not too sure. And we installed a 1,000 horsepower rated 48 RE transmission from our friends at Power Driven Diesel. Will and Dustin kind of led me through that build. We got it set correct. We like where the line pressure's at. It should live a long life. We have a 2200 high stall triple disc converter from Phil at DPC in that truck as well, with his just 6-bolt flex plate. Hopefully shouldn't have any issues with the transmission. If we do, it's probably going to be the input shaft, because I went with a standard input shaft. Hindsight being 2020, I really wish I would have just ordered a fat input shaft. The deciding factor for me really was cost, but with how heavy these trucks are, the fat input probably would have been the smart call. So we'll see. Maybe that transmission will be coming out again when more funds become available. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Maybe you guys learned something, maybe you didn't. But this is kind of what I put into the 6.7 that I'm going to be driving. And if a customer came to me, or a buddy or a friend, this is kind of the path I'd lead them down. Kind of 2 points of contention would be the rods and the transmission, I guess, would kind of be where I would say the 2 weak points are. But for what I'm going to do with it, it should be fine. Subscribe if you have not. Like that video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm certainly enjoying making these videos. It's kind of cool. I know I say a lot. I know I say like a lot. I know I say so a lot. I'm working on it. Hopefully you guys can bear with me. Have a great night.